Hello, YouTubers. Joe Curza here on Tuesday, May 13th, around 15:40 in the afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time. Now we're waiting to sort of watch over the course of the next, say, 8-9 hours, in intervals, the departure of the crew, the three-man crew from the space station, and I guess the hatch closure happens around 3, and then the undocking happens around 6, and then the landing happens around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So we should be able to watch this, all things considered. When I'll tell you, if you get a chance to look at this thing on the NASA TV, when they're covering the departure and you see the spacecraft out sort of a few miles out from the station against the backdrop of the sunlit Earth, it is just spectacular. And sometimes on the when they land, you get really good live video of this stuff from over in Kazakhstan. Let's see. So if they're 10, they're about 12 hours. So this will be late morning over in Kazakhstan when they land. So this might be quite visible and quite visually interesting. Well, now having pimped for NASA TV and the space program, today's nugget of happy nonsense, I would use the other more apposite term, but I'm trying to clean up my act a bit. Is from the Daily Telegraph, the British, the UK's British, Daily Telegraph, and its title is called "Stop Calling Teachers Ms. or Sir," or Miss, actually, Miss, not Ms., not Ms. Miss or Sir, pupils are told. And I want to show you this picture, which is a great picture. Now here is a type of interaction I dare say you don't see in U.S. public schools today. There might be a few private schools out there that are like that, but they've got to be hellishly expensive. But what a great illustration. Well, anyway, it seems that some of the more quote progressive unquote quote feminist unquote theorists. Well, no, you don't have to put that in quotes because they're theorists. That means that generally they're divorced from reality. I've decided that that teachers' titles such as Sir and Miss should be consigned to history because they discriminate against women. People should be encouraged to use teachers' first names to bring schools up to date. Now there's a catchword, and up to date, and ensure children are not exposed, quote, to the prejudices of the previous generation, unquote. Well, said Sir for men and Miss for females, irrespective of marital status. It's old-fashioned and, quote, embodies the massive status disparity and sexism of previous years, unquote. I'm shocked. How can this be allowed to continue? And then they have some people saying that, this is a bunch of nonsense. And then the Times Educational Supplement gives a little, background in terms of when "sir" was first used, and then when Miss was first used, when the women started coming back into teaching and during the Victorian era, and this bird over at Roehampton University said there was no place for titles in the 21st century. It's a depressing example of how women are given low status and men, no matter how young or new in the job they are given high status. This sounds to me like there's a bit of protesting too much. Perhaps somebody who is somewhat insecure in her abilities. I'm sorry, that individual's abilities. Well, and then she goes on for a while, but let's see. And so somebody from Berkeley, weighed in and said, the traditional title for male teachers, "sir," always conveys respect, while "miss" does not. I'll tell you, down in the South, if you call somebody "miss," that conveys the highest respect. Mrs., Ms. It doesn't. First of all, it tells the woman, the individual, that you've bothered to find out her status, marital status, so that you can address her as Miss, or, well, Miss is a generic term over in England for teachers. But if you call somebody Ms., first of all, it sounds like a bumblebee caught in a spider's web under the eaves troughs. Bzz, ms, ms. Now, I admit I've fallen into, the social convention of addressing, certainly a woman that I don't know, MS dot. I guess basically I'm calling her a manuscript. Dear manuscript. Well, then and this Berkeley dude goes on to talk about linguistic equality. The name is Robin. Now you don't know that's a guy or a woman, do you? Well, and then it goes on to say scrap all titles and so she advocates Mr. and then Ms. In the schools. And then here's this bird from Sheffield Hallam University from the Humanities Research Center. Now, that's got to be a funding scam of some sort. I wonder who slept with who to get that kind of money. The Humanities Research Center. And this bird said, schools should go further by reverting to first names. And then she postulates, she has a hypothesis. She puts out a hypothesis, an hypothesis. And her hypothesis is, sometimes teachers find that they can control students more when they try to stress the similarities between them rather than trying to keep them as distant as possible. I respectfully, in quotes, disagree. This woman clearly hasn't been in a classroom trying to control a bunch of hooligans. You control hooligans with the threat, not the overt threat, but the implied threat of intense, sudden physical violence. Basically, that's how the state controls people. That's how you control people. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just saying that's the way it is. As Mao said, all power comes from the barrel of a gun. And as much as he was horrible to his own people about a lot of stuff, he was certainly right philosophically about that. And we can talk about inalienable rights and all this till the cows come home. But the threat of applied violence goes a long way to controlling people. Yeah, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just merely discussing the facts of the world on the ground. And then they quote somebody else who runs 3 schools and says she doesn't mind them calling her Miss, but she says they're showing respect by giving me a title rather than hey or you or whatever. I guess or you is one of those UK-isms or Britishisms. Well, this it's always interesting to run into this kind of stuff because you can read a British newspaper that actually has a fairly conservative slant, and then you run into some of the stuff. Now, I didn't get the sense that the newspaper was advocating this, but in fact, it's by this fellow named Graham Patton, who's the education editor, who's fairly sound. But I thought, first of all, I sent this to my son, and it'll be, I can assure you that his students don't call him Thomas or Tom or Mr. Tom. They call him Mr. Kersey. As I have instructed, as he never addressed either his mother or me by our first names. He never even tried. I don't think the idea even occurred to him. And, I've instructed him that he's got to have his son, call me granddad. He ain't going to call me Joe. So, on that note, here we are. All is well right now up here on Alum Creek, and Paul's got a day off work. He's off work tomorrow as well, and we watched our nephew's video this morning, all 50-some minutes of it. Well, it's a good video. It's always fun to see, people you care about, and I think it is. Even if you can only see them through a screen. So, on that note, bye-bye, YouTubers.